Hey guys. Okay, I'm super excited about this project that we are going to do. It's a school-wide collaboration and we are going to have super amounts of fun with this. We are going to be promoting kindness and hope and love and really trying to remind our friends and our fellow family here at school that, you know, even in the midst of all the crazy and chaos going on, we still have hope and that there is love and kindness and joy and peace that the world can't take away from us and only the Lord provides for us. So here's what we're doing. We are going to be creating an amazing mural that is going to have flowers all over it that you create. And some of our classes, they're all going to be a little bit different, obviously, because you each are going to create your own unique flowers. So I expect everything to be amazing and different. And some classes are going to create words that go over the flowers. So we want to inspire and encourage and just remind everybody that we love them and God loves them. And no matter what's going on, we have a peace and hope. So here we go. We are going to switch over and I'm going to show you our lesson. So enjoy.
Okay, guys, so you can see I have my black marker. I have fluorescent oil pastels that I will have for each of you guys. In some classes, we may do some other mediums, but we're going to start out with these. And we are going to have really bright, bold colors. So the first thing we're going to start out with is our flowers. Now notice I have this nice large sheet of paper. It's about 12 by 18. So we're going to try and use this whole sheet of paper. The first thing I'm going to do is draw the center of my flower. And I'm just going to start with a simple circle. And if your circle's big or small, that's okay because we can fill in or we can branch out. And we're going to talk about lines and patterns and shapes today. So I've started with a simple shape of a circle. And my circle's not perfect, so yours doesn't have to be either. These are very whimsical flowers that we're trying to create, something that's going to spark joy and just allow people to feel like they are just happy. That's what we want. We are creating happiness. So I'm going to go and I'm going to make some cloud lines. So just curvy, bumpy lines around the outside. And I'm going to connect them. You could do them smaller. You could do something totally different. This is just my first flower idea. Then I'm going to actually create another circle. And then I might create another circle. This is not going to be a realistic flower. So I think in this one, I'm going to put lines. And I'm just going to repeat this pattern of lines. I'm going to go back up here. So we have lines, shape, pattern. These are all elements of art that make our art interesting. Good. All right, so now I can make even more. So the next part of my flower, I might decide I want more bumps again. Now I notice I only have a little bit to the edge, so I do want to keep my flower on my composition. I'm not going to have petals go off because we're going to cut them out after we color them and we're going to hang them up all together. If it does, that's okay because we'll be overlapping and we can always cover up if you miss a petal. I mean, really, it's never a problem. We can make this happen. So on this one, I am going to do really more scallops. And so I'm just continuing these little curved, bumpy cloud lines or jumping lines, little rainbows. Use whatever helps you figure out how to draw this kind of line. Now, what other kind of lines do we have? We have zigzags. We have wavy lines. Now, this one I wanted to make sure I kind of squished him so they would fit together. That worked out well. If one's bigger than the other, that's okay. It's a whimsical flower, not a perfect one. Now, I could even do something and go here and start in the middle of this one and do the same bump and have them jump here to here to here. I might try that. You could even do 1, 2, and skip 1 if you wanted to make bigger petals. Maybe I'll try that. So I'm going to start here and jump. And I'm going to jump. I always like to use my finger first to practice to see how big am I going to make that curve. So I'm going to skip one and jump to the next. So I'm also creating a pattern here because my petal goes every other. So this one skips it. If you see that pattern, some of them have to be a little bit smaller because these were kind of squished together so I could squeeze them in at the end. And that's okay. We're making it happen. I like the way this is turning out. So not all of my curves are the same. They're not all perfect, and that's okay. But I like my flower. I do not want to make it too busy, but I do think I want some little dots in the middle for a different kind of pattern. A variety is good. That's another element of art. So now we've got that. You could even, if you had another line, you could do zigzags if you didn't want to do straight lines. I just thought I like this right here. You could make little lines coming out of your petal. That'll give it a little bit of dimension and interest. So you could leave this solid or you could do something within it. You could make straight lines, but I've already got straight lines. So I think I'm going to leave this just like this. So I've got one flower drawing done. So I'm going to put that aside and let's do another one so you can see all the different ideas. Let's see, again, I'm going to start with my circle now. Do I have to start with a circle? Probably not. I mean, it's your flower. If you wanted a heart or a square, if you're going to get really unique, you can do that. But I'm going to go with a circle again. All right, and in my circle this time, I'm going to do more of zigzag triangle lines. And these are a little bit harder because you got to get that angle in there, so these are tricky, but I'm not going to worry if they're not perfect. Okay, making them fatter is key. So this one almost kind of reminds me of like a sunflower or the sun itself. So now I could do bumpy lines like that. I can draw a circle right around the outside and connect all those lines. I can, if I want to go with bumpies again, maybe I'll bring my bump in between so I don't get too busy. So we're just using lines and shapes to create our flower. And my lines, notice this guy's small and that guy's big. It's okay. No big deal. Now I'm going to make another circle. This time I didn't have it touch my petals. I'm not pushing too hard with my marker because I don't want it to die. And this time, let's see, what can I do? So I could do more triangles, but then I'd have to cut those out. So that's something I'm going to think about. If I don't want to cut out a bunch of zigzaggy lines, I'm not going to do that. You could leave your outside a straight circle. One thing we do want to avoid is just imagining, like, we don't want to just have lines like this coming out of our flower because we do want to cut it. And these would be really tricky to cut around, and we're not going to be able to color them because there's no inside space. So if you want to do something like that, I'm just going to create another circle. Oh, and look at that. I needed to pay attention when but guess what? I'm going to cut that part out. So this doesn't even matter because when I cut, this will all be gone. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to finish these lines I started. I'm trying to keep them all about the same width apart. If they're a little closer, a little farther, that's okay. When we look at all of God's creations, none of them are exactly the same. It's real obvious that there we go. He does an awesome job, and he's so creative. Okay, so that's fun. I've got triangle shapes, I've got circles, I've got, kind of rectangle squares that are going around in this circle, all from lines, and we have pattern. So when I go to color this, I could do pink, orange, if I wanted. I could create a pattern in here as well. So that's something we'll talk about next. So I think I'll be done with this one. But you know what? I think I want... Okay, so I'm going to put some, just texture or pattern or something to give it a little bit of interest on the inside. Last time I did the little dots, so I don't think I want to do that this time. But I could do anything. Now remember, the more shapes and areas you have, the more areas you have to color. So I could add little lines here to create interest and make it look like a petal is behind these petals. So these are all just different ideas. I want you to just look at your flower and think, what can I do? There's no right or wrong way. If you're using lines and shapes and creating pattern, then you're doing it right. So you could do more or you can do less. So there's another one. All right, let's do one more. So let's do something maybe a little more traditional. And let's do, we're gonna start out with our circle again. And notice my circle's not perfect. And I'm going to draw some petals. So just kind of curved U's. Obviously, if this scares you, you can try it in your sketchbook. You can use your pencil and imagine, like, oh, that's way too big, that's too small. So practice with your finger, and don't be afraid if your petals don't all turn out perfectly, or if they're a little wonky. Sometimes, sometimes, like this one's bigger than that one. That's okay. It's not a big deal. And then think about lines and patterns and shapes in here. So we could do lines inside of our petals. We could do dots inside of our petals. If we wanted to do another circle on the inside and do the lines here. I guess I'm really liking these lines today. And then I could even, let's see, maybe I'll curve them out. And that's going to give my flower a look of dimension. If I did straight lines, it would look flat. But because I did curved lines, and notice I didn't do a lot of them because I'm going to color inside each of these. So the smaller the space, the more detail I have to pay attention to. So when it kind of spreads out as I get towards the top, well, that was a really big curve. Must be a really curvy flower. So there's so many different things. Now, I'm looking at my flower and I'm noticing, okay, I'm going to have to cut around all of this. And I can make it easy if I want to just make myself a circle around the outside, then I would just have to cut out a circle and I could draw in here. Because these might be a little flimsy if I leave them like that, and cutting a circle would be easier and give me more to color. So you might want to give little dots. You could always draw a circle and color in a different color on your circle. So you don't have to fill in, like if you did dots, you could leave it open and color inside a different color. So these lines are really radiating out, and I am. For simplicity, I'm just going to draw a circle around the outside edge of that, just kind of connecting all of my petals. And if you're not sure where they are, just sometimes it's easier to move your wrist than your whole arm. But you practice and see what works best for you. You can always use your, oh, that one kind of went straight, but that's okay. I'm not worried about it. And because this is so busy, I think I'm going to leave these as they are and not do anything crazy in there, because I've got a lot of pattern and I need spaces for my eyes to rest and just be like, whew, okay. Notice I'm using my full composition. Obviously, I have space over here because I'm drawing a circle and not an oval, but you could draw an oval type flower. If you wanted to make it longer, that's fine. You know, you can use this part, you could make an oval. There's so many different ways you can make a flower. Maybe you make a tulip. Ooh, let's do that one. So we could do, I'm going to turn my paper. And now it's really long, so it's kind of coming into my camera. So if I do a really big U, so I've got a really big U on my paper. And then put the lid on my marker. Then I could imagine I can do 3 bumps or humps. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Also kind of looks like a foot. Look at that. I got a big foot. Now, if I wanted to take these lines down, I could. Or I can just leave it like this. I think I might take this one across. If I take that line across, and then this line down, it almost gives the effect of a tulip. Here I could do different lines and patterns. in my tulip. I can stick with the same on each. I could do it again. And if I wanted to do it again, I could. And then maybe I want to do circles. And I'll color those in different colors. They can be different sizes. So we can have smaller circles and bigger circles. A variety of sizes is fun. And then I don't have to worry about making everything perfect. The circles could go off the edge of my tulip or around the end there. So I'm using a good use of my space. So I'm just trying to space them out and make sure I've got a good amount of different sizes. Not everything's big, not everything's small. I think that's good. And maybe I want to go with a different shape in here. Maybe this is a really unique flower. If you want to do hearts, I could even make it look like one's coming out there. Maybe one is coming from the edge of that. So these remind me of artists like Romero Brito and his different use of patterns. It's kind of like folk art where we use lots of different lines. Now one more. All right, that's good. All right, and in the middle, I don't know. I could just make my lines go all the way down on that one, or I could. I hope you guys have some really good ideas for this space because I'm drawing a blank, so I'm going to leave it blank right now. And I might think of something later when I come back. So we've done a tulip type flower, and that one goes really tall. We've done a daisy type flower with a circle border. We've done this really whimsical one. And we did this one. So let's think. One other type. Ooh, this one's fun. Let's do a swirl. So we could either do concentric circles. I'm going to do these smaller just so I can get two more in. So you can have two different ideas. So you could do, I guess, a grouping of smaller flowers. If you wanted to make a swirl flower, you could just swirl it, swirl it, swirl it, swirl it. And that could be a flower. If you wanted to put a leaf on your flower, you can put your leaf on there, and that kind of looks like a rose from the top view. And if you wanted to do a couple of those, you have room, and then you could do like an orange, a pink, a yellow. You could do a couple different using your full space. Or we could do concentric circles, which is where we start out with a small circle in the middle. And we've kind of done this on some others, but this one could be all concentric circles. Those of you who had me a few years ago, I think maybe 4 years ago, we did a really big mural that everybody participated in and made concentric circles inspired by Vasily Kandinsky on the paper plates, and then we did painted petals on the outside. So you could do something like that where you have the radiating circles that come out from each other. You could add petals after if you wanted, like we did that year. You painted them, but you can draw those easily enough. So there's so many different ways we can do this. We don't want any teeny tiny flowers because those are going to get lost. So if you decide you want to do 2 or 3 medium flowers, like if I've given you this big piece of paper, so I've done one medium, another smaller medium. I still have room here. So if you have a little bit of room, then you could always make another one. Maybe I'll do another swirl. That's a simple one. I can use up all my space. I could fit a leaf here. And I'm making good use of my composition. Another leaf here. And these are just curved lines that come together. And then a curved line to make my leaf look like it has form. And when I get my colors out, I think this one I'll connect so I can do maybe a different color in the middle. So you could add dots. You could add lines inside some of these. You could add, different patterns. I could do my lines that I've been doing. Or you could just do the colors and go with that. You could do the lines coming out I think I'll do that. That's always fun. I feel like I could keep going and going. We always could add more detail, right? All right. So now we're going to color. All right, so I'm going to go back. I think I am going to choose to color our first one. So I've got my pastels, and most of these are warm colors, except for we do have green, which is a cold color. So you're welcome to use that. I wish we had some teal, because teal is always fun with pastels. If your pastel is getting to the point where, you don't have anything to color with, you can carefully peel away the paper and put it in your bucket so you can throw the paper away at the end of the class. So I'm just going to begin to color. Now, oil pastels will smear, so you've got to be careful and just kind of decide, where do you want to color? I'm going to start on the inside and move my way out. So these are fluorescent, so they're super fun and bright. We are going to get these little shavings. So you don't want to smear them, because if you smear them, if you brush them off, they're going to end up everywhere and all over your hands. If you color over your dot, you're going to lose some of that darkness. So I'm going to be careful and try not to color over my lines, because I don't want to lose the darkness of my little dots I created. And with an oil pastel, if I try and put the marker over it, it's going to kind of be like a wax or an oil resist. And the oil pastel is going to resist the black marker and not going to want to allow us to color over it to show that black that we had. So I'm just going to color in. All right, now, I said not wiping, because that's going to smear it everywhere. Watch. See, it's going to get it everywhere. So we don't, and then it's all over your hands. And our teacher, so I don't mind, really. So I'm going to take my paper, and if you tap it onto your table, what's going to happen? All of your little shavings are going to be on the table, and then when you put your paper down, it's going to be all over the back of your paper. So you kind of need to give it a rustle over the edge. Now, if you're at home, you should go to a trash can and do that. We don't want to, get oil pastel on mom's floor or wherever you're coloring. That would not make them happy. So I'm just going to pick a new color. I'm going to make sure every time I put my pastel back in the box so I don't have them rolling on the floor. Notice I am making sure my color is solid. I have good saturation. I'm not just kind of going like that and saying, okay, I'm not just filling it in a little bit. I'm going to fill in that whole spot. So make sure you get that really good and solid. So I'm going to continue that all the way around and go every other. Hopefully, I have the same number. That's one thing I didn't consider with that. And I've got black on my oil pastel, so it's showing up here. But I'm just going to color it the opposite way, and it'll blend in a little bit. It'll be a little bit darker, but it's not a huge deal. You can always clean your pastel off over here and try and get everything off. I'm not going to have enough. So I'm going to grab my marker and create one more line. And that's a really short one. But that's okay, because now it's at the top. It'll be fine. Okay, gonna put my yellow away. Now I'm moving on to my green. Okay. I give it a good shake. Now I'm going to try and pick different colors. There are similar. So I've already used my light orange. I think I used my dark pink here. Not sure. Yeah, so I'm going to move. I put my dark orange and my lighter pink. So I think I'll put my dark orange here. Just to try and keep the colors balanced. I don't want pink next to pink. So that's kind of why I did the yellow and the green in the middle, so they could separate each other. And I suppose I'm going to do my lighter pink here. It's a little bit different. I can't wait to see all of your amazing flowers. We'll have these upstairs and downstairs. We haven't hung any artwork yet this year, so pretty excited to hang up some artwork. I'm going to flip it around because I don't want my arm going through all that when I color. So we don't want to smear our oil pastel. So don't be afraid to rotate your paper. Now before we finish coloring, we need to put our name on it, because if we try and put our name on after, then we'll have the pastel and we won't be able to. So I'm going to just pick a spot on the outside of my flower and I'm going to sign my name. I should have picked a thinner marker or a crayon. Because, well, I can see it. It's kind of chunky. That's okay. Alright, so now I've used all my colors. So now I think I'm going to get creative. And I am going to, on the outside, I'm going to try blending So I'm going to use my dark orange, and I'm going to put a layer of dark orange. So you don't have to do this. You could just pick another color. You could do your yellow or your green if you wanted more of one of those. I am going to end up just going over my name because I think it's more important to see my color than to have my name pop. This one I'm going lightly. I'm not filling in super, super solid, just enough to get the color down because I don't want to give complete saturation. Otherwise, I won't be able to blend in any of the pink I'm going to put over it for a different color. So we've got orange and pink. So it'll kind of be like a tertiary color since it'll be a mix of orange, which is a secondary, and pink is essentially a primary color of red with white in it. So it's a tint. And pink always blends better. Like if you're trying to make a good purple, using pink and teal is going to make a better purple than your standard red and blue. I find it's really hard to get a good purple out of typical red and blue. Okay, almost done. Again, on this one I'm not coloring it super hard. I'm trying to cover most of it, but it's okay if I have white space in this area because I am going to come back in with my pink and blend the two together, and notice it creates a different color. It's a pinkish orange. So it's just slightly different than all my other colors. And if you wanted to experiment over on the side of your paper color blending, you could do that. Just make sure after you're done, especially with the yellow, because it's going to pick up any colors you blend over it, make sure you do that swirl to get all the extra color off. So chalk pastels or oil pastels are really cool for blending and experimenting with different colors and layers. So that's really vibrant. These are going to be so bright and cheery on the walls. And flip, so I don't end up dragging my arm through my pastel. Okay, so that's my very first one. Super bright. I don't know if it looks as bright on your screen as it is in real life, but it definitely is very neon. One last thing we need to do is cut them out. Alright, so once you're all done coloring in and your name is on one of your petals, you're going to carefully cut out along the outside edge of your flower. Make sure you don't cut off too much of that black because that'll be a good border. Now if you do, you could always go back and add some more black to outline it. We can always do that. I'll show you that in a second too. Just always, I'm going to cut that off because that's in my way. So once you cut your flower out, be careful not to tear it. where do these pieces of paper go? In the trash, that's right. My hand keeps getting in the way. Alright, so I'm going to throw my paper away, put my scissors away. And now we are also going to, we can go back if we want and try to fill in any black spots. If you really want to darken it up, you can, but you don't have to. But if you want to fill in any of those spots that might be missed, make it real bold, but you're going to end up with oil pastel on your marker, so you might want to save one of those scraps to clean it off. I'm going to get that off there. Notice I picked a line. Hopefully it won't bleed through and show through my So you can do that, you don't have to. You know, if you cut off part of your line, say I cut off more than I wanted to, I can just go back and try and add a little bit. But again, this is an extra step that you don't have to do. It just helps with really making it pop after you've colored, to bring that line back and get rid of any of those extra white spots, and just to really make it bold and black. So that is that there. And of course, I could just keep going with it and do it. So you can see the difference on this side to this side. So now I feel like I have to finish. But you don't have to watch me. All right, guys. Happy creating, and we will work on the next portion later.
All right. For some of our students, we'll be using oil pastels. Some will be using highlighters. Our goal is to have amazing neon flowers at the end. So I just wanted to do a quick little demo if we're doing highlighters. These are great for giving those bright colors. You do want to be careful if you've used like a Crayola or any marker like that is a water-based marker or washable. It could bleed if you go too far over that line. You'll end up moving, see that shadow? You'll end up moving your black marker into your color. So you want to be careful to try and not do that. If you use a Sharpie, you should be okay, if that's what you've used to draw out your flower. But you do want these big bold lines, so the fattest marker you have is the one you want to use. So if you have a chisel tip Sharpie, like this is a chisel tip, use the fat angle, not the little tip, because you want to get these bold lines like I have. So the Mr. Sketch have great lines for that. You could even go over it twice with your black marker. You could use a black crayon even, if you don't have a black marker, or if your black marker is going to die. I know sometimes our markers run out on us, so we can use crayon as well. So you are not limited to just what we have. So I'm not going to color the whole thing, but just to give you guys an idea, you know, the difference. Some of you are going to be doing the oil pastels, some will be doing highlighters. Just depends on who I have what day, and because I can't disinfect the oil pastels every day. So I want to make sure that we can continue to create for our mural, and everybody gets to have their flowers up on the wall that are super bright and super fun. So the highlighters, I think, do a fine job of creating a really bright flower. It's kind of got that neon vibe to it. I think the yellow and the pink are probably the most vibrant. So if you want something really vibrant, you can use those as much as you want. Remember to have a variety of color. Now if your highlighter starts to run out, you can just give it a break, because these aren't meant for coloring. They're meant for highlighting. So use it a little, then put the cap back on until you find something else you're supposed to highlight, but had an abundance donated to me, so I thought, you know what? I am going to use these for a super fun neon project, because who does not love neon colors? And notice how if I go into this yellow is not as juicy as I would like, so I'll probably end up finding another yellow. I don't think I have pink right here. I'll have to grab a pink highlighter too. So think about, how bright you want things. Ooh, that's bright. I like it. So we want the bright, bright colors. Use a variety of color if you like, or go with all warm colors and a pop of cool. If you have leaves. So this is just another idea to show you if we are doing highlighters. Some of you will get that opportunity. Let's see if this has any more juice in it. No, look at how dirty that is. Ew. I have another yellow. That one has a lot more bright in it. This fun neon pigments. Be careful going into that black line, because I've gone in there a couple times and pulls right out that black. So, that's fun and vibrant. I might use that one again. And what happens if I go over my green? I didn't feel like it was vibrant enough. So if I go over my green with the yellow, that really brings out that neon effect to it. It makes it a little brighter. So don't be afraid to do something like that if you're wanting something a little brighter. Another yellow. Maybe I'll just orange over this yellow. Not sure if I love the balance of that. I don't know if I love this either, but that's okay. I could have gone like in a rainbow neon order. That would have been fun. Did not think about that. So there's an idea of rainbow neon, or you can do, you know, all pink and purple here. Just keep going with the swirl. Do it again. And we'll go in with either yellow. Let's see what happens with yellow. Okay, just gonna make sure when I swirl the yellow, I want to get on the inside. So I want to keep the swirl going, but I want to hit those white spots. It's really my goal. So I'm going to kind of go back and notice it's turning. So to get it bright again, clean it off. Because it's going to continue to pick up that pink and change your color. And if you're not sure about something like this, first try it on your white paper. You don't have to go right to your flower. You don't have to connect. So I could have practiced over here to see what it would look like.